guys, T-2 here, back with another TARDIS tutorial. Okay, so the map has been updated now. This is pretty much what it'll be like the moment you get the updated version 4. I've added this new spawn house, and actually, it was mainly Chicken Man, actually, from my Discord server who helped me build this, so big props to him. Real nice design. And he also helps me out quite extensively with the feature I'm going to show you all today. So today's feature basically is kind of what I tried to fix with my multiplayer video a while back. Basically just make the TARDIS better for multiplayer. So how it worked then was basically you just had to make 2 TARDISes and make like 2 armor stands, everything relative to their own TARDIS, their own armor stands. This one basically just makes multiplayer a heck of a lot easier for multiple people in the same world with one TARDIS, e.g. this world. And so basically what it does is it designates one of the players on the world as the pilot of the TARDIS, and then only that one really has access to most of the TARDIS functions. So the TARDIS isn't going to start, not knowing who to teleporting around random people. It'll mostly stick to whoever it needs to teleport, basically, which would be the pilot. So right now I am not the pilot, and how you can check that is by doing /tag at a list. You can see I have no tags, but if we go here to pilot permissions, basically I can press this button and it will clear the permissions of whoever was the pilot before, take away that tag, and put it on whoever was nearest to the button. So that would be me at the moment, so I do that. I am now the TARDIS pilot. And I didn't have a key on me, but now I do. The key works for anyone, so anyone can enter the TARDIS, like so. Anyone can exit. And there's a new armor, not an armor stand, a command block here, which I will get to in a moment, but let's just say that I went in here, but I wasn't the pilot. So tag at a remove pilot. And let's just say I went to go fly the TARDIS. Now, some things will kind of work, some things won't. So the monitor, it does not work for someone who is not the pilot, as you saw. Even the monitor just didn't work. The chameleon circuit does, though, so I can set the exterior. I can't change the location. Obviously, I'm not dematerialized, but we will get to what happens when you dematerialize. That's kind of the major thing. I can do this tutorial, and I'll get the book. I can't do time travel, but again, we'll get to that. Same thing with the randomizer. I can lock the doors, which makes me think maybe I should add like a lockpick item or something that's only available to pilots, just so that people can't come along and just lock people out of their own TARDIS. People who aren't the pilot anyway. So yeah, my thought was also we just need to do water. So if I show you now what happens if you try to dematerialize, obviously in order to change the location, the weather, the time, or the randomizer, any of that, you need to be dematerialized. So we lock the doors, we try to dematerialize, obviously we need coolant, but the catch is, if you're not the pilot, you put in coolant, it takes it away and says, no authorized pilot is present within this TARDIS. So yeah, even if the pilots exists in the world, as long as they're not within the TARDIS, it won't let you even put in coolant, and therefore you cannot fly the TARDIS if the pilot is either just not in the world or not within the TARDIS. So yeah, and basically once someone is the pilot, the TARDIS will work pretty much exactly as I would expect if I make myself the pilot. Tag at a or T-2 add pilot. I am now the pilot. Whoops, what in the world? Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but I did add a system where more than one person cannot be the pilot. So I don't know why it triggered there, because there's only one person in this world. But yeah, I did also add a system that makes it to where not more than one person can be the pilot, because that would kind of ruin the whole point of the system. And yeah, basically if there are more than one pilot, it'll choose a random player as the TARDIS pilot, basically. It'll remove the permissions from everyone and then just select one at random, basically. So, yeah. Yeah, and then, once I'm the pilot, everything will work as normal. I can come over here, that'll work normally, and thus I can dematerialize. I can do whatever I'd like, really, and everything should work totally normally. The shields is another thing that doesn't work for non-pilots. They can activate the shields, but if they go outside, they don't get the benefits of the shields, so, yeah. Doesn't do much for them. They cannot do plotting a point. They can change the interior, though. Anyhow, so how does this pilot system actually work, you may be wondering? Well, let's go down here and I will show you. Again, I had to have Chicken Man help me out with this, because I'm just not good at this sort of thing. And the thing in question was basically that I had to edit a lot of existing commands and add a couple of new ones, so it all starts with that little machine thing outside that makes you the pilot. So let's go back out to that. And basically I'm going to show you how that works. So it's very simple. It's literally just some redstone underneath here, but it just heads down here, and then this command block removes the tag pilot from everyone on the server, and then it says previous pilot cleared, so even though there's only one player who could have had the pilot at a time, they now no longer have it, and then a moment later it'll add pilot to the nearest player, so whoever's closest to the command block, and then it'll say that that nearest player is now the TARDIS pilot. So yeah, that's how that works. It basically just gives you a tag, basically. Very simple. And what does the tag actually do? Well, that's the question. So we gotta go down here, and I will just show you a couple of things with tags. So there's some new stuff going on here with the TARDIS key. Chicken Man helped me out because I'm not familiar with chain command blocks, for example. I might get my sword because I'm OCD. So yeah, that's exactly, well, no, this isn't actually exactly how you'd expect it to be. This first command block, in fact, is different than what you'd expect. So we have execute as the TARDIS at S, at itself, basically. It's running tag at P, add, enter. So there's another tag going on here. Basically, when you hold the TARDIS key, that command exactly the same, it'll put a tag on whoever is nearest, basically, and add an enter tag to them. And basically, that just has to do with entering the TARDIS. Because then it has this other one that executes at the TARDIS, runs add the tag inside, and basically that just means that you are now inside the TARDIS. So that's how it detects, like I was saying earlier, if the pilot is inside or not. Basically just whether they have used the key and entered the TARDIS. So if you somehow like found your way to the interior and broke your way in, that wouldn't work, which makes sense. And then what? And then we have basically the same command we already had, I believe. Execute in overworld run TP at A, but we added tag equals enter. So basically just teleport the player with the enter tag to the interior coordinates, and then remove the enter tag. And basically the enter tag part of it may seem a bit superfluous, like we don't need it, but actually when me and Chicken Man were testing this out, actually the TARDIS just flat out didn't work properly when you go to other dimensions, apparently. It wasn't letting us enter, which I had problems with that before. It was for a different reason this time, but yeah, apparently if you had that tag, it actually worked. So that's basically what all that's about. And so if we go to something like the monitor, for example, which was one of the things that we needed to be the pilot to use, and we go to this command block, you can see that now all of these command blocks only work for a player and at A with the tags of pilot and inside, basically meaning they only work, basically the monitor only work if there is a pilot and that pilot is inside the TARDIS. So yeah, basically it won't work for someone who isn't a pilot, and it won't work if the pilot is not inside the TARDIS, is basically what I'm getting at. And that's basically what I did to most of the commands. This time travel command I didn't have to do anything to, because you can't even get to that if you can't dematerialize, which we will get to right now. So we head down here. Most of this is pretty much as you'd expect, except if we come over here to the actual dematerializing itself. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So for example, the sounds only play for the players that are inside the TARDIS now. It won't play for everyone on the server or just the nearest player. It'll play for everyone with the inside tag, meaning they're inside the TARDIS. And that actually applies to the in-flight sounds as well, not just the little bell sound. So yeah, basically, how do we make this not work for people who don't have the pilot ability? Because that's really what's new here. Which would be right over here, actually. And we have basically these two things and an AND gate. And what are these testing for? Well, this one tests for if there's an AT-A with pilot and inside. So if the pilot is inside the TARDIS, then it'll invert. And basically, it's more so testing for if there is not a pilot inside the TARDIS, and if not, and if the cauldron is filled up, then basically it'll send through the signal and it'll reset the cauldron to level 0, and it'll say no authorized pilot is present. So yeah, that's how I basically block you from dematerializing, rather. Yeah, the door lock, I believe, works exactly the same. Yes, but there's plenty of other things that have been changed. The locations, that's the same, because again, you can't dematerialize, so what's the point to change that? The time vortex feature, where you get thrown out if you unlock the TARDIS in flight. That has been changed a little bit, so we go over to the actual commands that execute, and it'll give the effects only to someone who is a pilot inside the TARDIS. Same thing, pilot inside. So yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Maybe we could just make it apply to everyone who is inside. That would make a lot more sense, so I'll probably do that, honestly. But yeah, these two, exactly the same. If we go over to tooltips, that's the same. Chameleon circuit, that's the same. The weather, again, you can't access that if you can't dematerialize. The Stattenheim remote will only actually teleport the TARDIS to someone with the tag of pilot, so you just do that to all of these, including this. When it plays the sound, only make it play it to a pilot, basically. Manual flight. This was a big one, because this is the one I was kind of mainly referring to when I said that the TARDIS kind of teleports people around, because this uses a lot of teleporting and summoning blocks and stuff. Yeah, I took everything that basically targeted at a player and made it only target at someone with the right tags. So let's go to here, for example. This is where it starts at. This should be exactly the same, but then we go here, and what's different? Well, it'll only teleport the pilot who's inside the TARDIS to the outside in order to become the pilot of the flying TARDIS. And yeah, that's all basically the same, except for this. When it updates game mode, again, make it only work for the pilot, who, even though they're teleported outside, they're technically still inside. They still have that tag. And then, basically, you go into the actual flight itself, and yeah, most of these are exactly the same. Okay, here we go. Again, you're only only giving the status effect for invisibility to pilot inside, and then when you turn off the flight mode by just using the key in your offhand, what is it doing? Well, this part's a little differently. It's testing for if you have the key, but then I've added to the end, comma, tag equals pilot, comma, tag equals inside, close the brackets. So yeah, basically the player, yeah, so it won't just, so basically, you know, if I didn't have that, it would basically just allow anyone to put the key in their offhand and bring the pilot back inside when they're trying to fly the TARDIS, which obviously you don't really want. So yeah, I believe that's basically all I have changed in here. And then tutorial, that's the same. Sounds, again, I just made them play to all players who are inside the TARDIS. Very simple. And then randomizer, that's the same. Reaper attack, that's the same. Okay, so the big thing that is really important is actually downstairs at this point, or at least the big changes are down here. Rotor, that's the same. Fast return and plotter, I disabled that basically just by saying that if a pilot is not inside, then it will block that basically from getting through, and then these are pretty much exactly the same. Just kind of added a space into that mechanism to block it. And I didn't have to block this, obviously, because if you don't have a point plotted, then you can't then travel to that point with the fast return. So yeah, the tracker, that still works the same. Force field, I may have mentioned this changed. So basically, I just added in here that it's only going to add the status effect to someone with the tag of pilot. So yeah, and then yeah, all the rest of these are exactly the same. And then finally, we come to this new section, the Chicken Man made. Or, no, that's the player locator, that's the same, but this is the second. Okay, that Chicken Man made, which I just called the pilot limiting device. This is the thing that basically tests if there are multiple pilots in the world, and it will remove all of them and randomly select someone. Like I said earlier, there's this little command clock thing, redstone clock, and it basically says, execute as at a tag equals pilot, so execute as whoever is the pilot currently, at itself run the scoreboard players add meme pilot excess 1. So yeah, this is basically how that whole system starts, is it basically just has the pilot give the score of 1, and then basically it will execute as the pilot run at S scoreboard players reset meme pilot excess, basically just meaning it's constantly giving a score of 1, having the pilot give a score of 1 on that scoreboard, and then removing it constantly. And so basically, as long as there's not 2 people who are the pilots, this number should not go over 2. But again, if it goes over 2, then it'll run all of these. So basically, we do a scoreboard thing, which I'm not good at. Chicken Man knows these, and I do not. Execute if score meme, he called it meme, which is funny, and then pilot excess is greater than or equal to meme 2, pilot excess. Yeah, I don't know what some of this means, but basically just meaning if it's greater than or equal to, if the score is greater than or equal to 2, basically, pilots, then what will it do? It'll say more than 2 pilots found, correcting, tag at a, tag equals pilot add Redis, that's again just a temporary thing, and then it'll remove pilot from everybody, and then it'll tag at R, tag equals Reddit, add Redis, add pilot, basically just meaning it's selecting a random player with this tag to become the pilot, basically, and yeah, that's why it basically makes the current pilot be Redis, and then yeah, it'll basically make that player be add pilot, become the pilot basically, and then it removes Redis. Like I said, it's just a temporary thing, and then say that this pilot is now the pilot. That's basically everything about the pilot system. Yeah, this feature took me a while, obviously. I needed help on it. Yay, I have Optifine. I keep forgetting that I have 1.16 Optifine now. That is definitely highly recommended for this world if you download it from Planet Minecraft, just because it gets very laggy sometimes. Surprisingly, I checked the download. I tried downloading it myself, and it actually surprisingly was less laggy than the one I had in single player. Or just like my own copy of it, basically is all I'm saying. So yeah, that's basically all there is to this feature, this pilot feature. Big thanks again to Chicken Man for helping me out with this. We worked on it for like 2 hours, but it was worth it. This is a very cool feature, And like I said, he built that cool house at the spawn, which I absolutely love. Just a neat little thing to make the map more interesting, undeniably. It's got this cool smoke too. So yeah, that's it for the video basically. I've been Tebow2. Be sure to subscribe, to follow my Instagram, Tebow2YT, to follow my Twitter, which is also Tebow2YT, to join my Discord, and to have a nice day. Yes! I've got that down now. Yay. Goodbye.